chosen one. Listen closely. The people who tried to destroy you, the ones you trusted, the ones you thought were on your side, they are finally waking up. They are realizing the shocking truth. They were manipulated into turning against you. Every lie they believed, every doubt they acted on, every attack they launched, it wasn't really them. Someone else pulled the strings, and they were nothing more than a pawn in a game they didn't even understand. And now, the mask has slipped. The truth is finally hitting them hard. The guilt, the regret, the realization of what they lost, this is the moment they can't ignore. They see the strength you carried, the loyalty you offered, and the unwavering heart they tried to break. Today, you're going to discover the 7 undeniable signs that they've finally realized they were manipulated into hurting you, and how the universe is now showing them who you really are: untouchable, unbreakable, and chosen. By the end of this video, you'll see why the ones who tried to harm you are now powerless, and why their awakening only proves one thing: you were never the problem. You were the chosen one they could never stop. They suddenly go silent. One of the strongest signs that someone finally realizes they were manipulated into turning against you is their sudden, unexplained silence. People don't go quiet without a reason. Silence is not empty. It is full of thoughts they never had the courage to face before. When the truth hits them, it hits hard. All the noise, all the anger, all the confidence they once had in the lies they believed suddenly collapses. They start replaying every argument, every decision, every moment they treated you unfairly. The same people who once spoke loudly and confidently against you now struggle to find words. They feel the weight of their actions settling on them like a truth they can't escape. They begin to question who fed them those lies, who planted doubts in their heart, and why they were so quick to believe it. This silence is not strength, it is realization. It is the moment their mind starts connecting dots they ignored before. They begin to see how easily they were influenced, how their emotions were used like weapons, and how they betrayed someone who never meant them harm. Their silence is their confession. It's their internal battle between guilt and awakening, and the reason it feels so sudden is because truth always arrives quietly, but it shakes a person from the inside out. When someone finally understands they were manipulated into destroying someone who genuinely cared for them, silence becomes the only place they can hide from the truth that now lives in their mind. They start watching you from a distance. When someone wakes up to the fact that they were manipulated into hurting you, one of the first things they do is step back and observe you quietly from a distance. They may not reach out, they may not apologize, they may not say a single word, but they begin checking your profile, watching your stories, noticing your growth, and monitoring your energy. This is not curiosity. It's realization mixed with regret. They're trying to understand how you managed to survive everything they threw at you. They expected you to fall apart, to stay broken, to stay wounded. Instead, they see you rising. They see you healing. They see you leveling up. And this confuses them because they're finally piecing together the truth that the lies they believed about you never matched the person you actually are. Watching you from a distance is their way of studying the truth they denied for so long. They start noticing patterns they were blind to before. Your strength, your resilience, your authenticity. They compare the person they thought you were with the person you truly are, and the difference exposes the manipulation they fell for. It becomes clear to them that the version of you they were taught to hate never existed. This quiet observation is their attempt to understand how they were misled and why they allowed someone else's voice to overpower your actions. They watch because they're searching for answers, and every time they look at you now, they see the truth they tried to avoid. People around them begin exposing the truth. One of the most powerful signs that someone realizes they were manipulated into destroying you is when the people around them start exposing the truth, sometimes accidentally, sometimes intentionally. Manipulation never stays hidden forever. Lies have a way of cracking open under pressure, and when they do, everything begins to make sense at once. Someone slips up and reveals a detail they shouldn't have. Someone mentions a comment, a message, or a rumor the manipulator spread. Someone connects dots your ex or former friend never bothered to question. Suddenly, the story they believed so confidently doesn't add up anymore. The version of you they hated doesn't match the truth being revealed, and just like that, the illusion breaks. They realize they weren't acting on their own feelings. They were reacting to someone else's agenda. This revelation hits them hard because it forces them to acknowledge that they were used as a tool against you. It's painful to discover that the anger or resentment they carried wasn't even theirs, it was planted. People around them start telling them what they should have seen, what they ignored, what they refused to question. And now, with every new detail exposed, they begin to see exactly how they were manipulated, how they were played, and how easily they allowed someone else to steer their actions. This moment of truth is heavy, because it forces them to admit they believed lies over the person who cared for them. Their entire perspective shifts, and the truth that once seemed small now becomes impossible to ignore. Their conscience starts eating them alive. There comes a moment when the truth finally breaks through the walls someone built to protect themselves from guilt, and when that moment arrives, their conscience becomes impossible to ignore. This is one of the clearest signs that they realize they were manipulated into turning against you. When everything is quiet, when the distractions fade, when the world slows down, their mind begins replaying every detail of how they treated you. They start remembering conversations where they doubted you for no real reason. They recall moments when they chose to believe rumors instead of the reality right in front of them. They remember the accusations, the anger, the decisions they made while under the influence of someone else's lies. It hits them out of nowhere. The weight of it sits heavy on their chest because deep down, they know you never deserved any of it. Their conscience starts waking them up at night, reminding them of the person you truly were, patient, loyal, honest, supportive. And they begin comparing that truth to the poison someone else fed them. That comparison is painful because it exposes how easily they were led, how quickly they doubted you, and how blindly they acted out of emotion rather than truth. This internal battle becomes a daily experience. They may act normal on the outside, but on the inside, they're wrestling with regret. They begin seeing your face in moments where they were cold, hearing your voice in moments where they refused to listen, feeling your absence in places where you used to bring peace. Their conscience starts speaking louder than the lies ever did. It reminds them that you were the one who stood by them, encouraged them, and tried to guide them even when they pushed you away. Now, every memory becomes a lesson they can't escape. They question why they believed the manipulator so quickly. They ask themselves why they didn't trust you, why they didn't give you the benefit of the doubt, why they let someone else's bitterness shape their view of you. The more they reflect, the more painful their realization becomes. They begin to understand that they weren't acting out of their own truth. They were reacting from fear, insecurity, and influence. This is the moment they start recognizing the manipulator's tactics, how someone twisted stories, exaggerated situations, or played victim to gain control. The person who manipulated them may have seemed convincing at the time, but hindsight makes everything clearer. Their conscience forces them to see how they were emotionally controlled, how their weaknesses were targeted, and how they allowed someone to turn them into a weapon against the one person who truly cared for them. This realization doesn't just bring guilt, it brings shame. Shame for not seeing the truth sooner, shame for hurting you, shame for abandoning someone who offered genuine love or loyalty. And even though they may not say a word to you, the guilt becomes a storm inside them that they can't escape. Their mind becomes a constant reminder of the pain they caused, and their conscience keeps replaying it until they finally acknowledge the truth. They were manipulated, they were misled, and they allowed themselves to play a role in trying to destroy someone who never wanted anything but the best for them. This inward awakening marks the beginning of their transformation, and the truth becomes a weight they must learn to carry. They try to reconnect in small, indirect ways. When someone finally realizes they were manipulated into destroying you, one of the strongest and most revealing signs is the subtle, quiet way they try to reconnect. They don't rush in with a full apology. They don't openly admit everything at once. Instead, they take small, hesitant steps back into your energy because they're battling fear, guilt, and uncertainty within themselves. They might like an old picture. They might watch your stories more than once. They might comment something harmless or send a simple message like, "Hey," or "How have you been?" These gestures may seem insignificant, but to them, they are enormous. It is their way of testing the waters to see whether the bridge they burned is still standing. They want to know if you're open to the idea of speaking again, but they're terrified of facing the full truth of what they did. Deep down, they know they hurt you. They know they failed you. They know their actions or silence created damage that can't be undone easily, and this realization makes them cautious. They don't want to come across as desperate, yet they don't want to lose their chance either. They approach slowly because they're afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, and afraid of seeing their own reflection in your eyes. They wonder whether you're still angry or whether you've moved on to a level they no longer have access to. This fear keeps them from coming forward boldly, and so they choose the safest method: small, indirect attempts to reconnect, hoping you'll notice and make space for them again. These small gestures reveal more than they intend. It shows they're thinking about you far more than they admit. It shows that your absence is becoming heavier than they expected. It shows that the truth has pierced through their denial, and now they can't ignore the void your presence once filled. They start revisiting old memories, rereading old messages, and realizing how much they took your kindness for granted. They recognize moments where you stood by them when no one else did, and they feel the sting of losing someone who carried genuine loyalty. And with every passing day, the desire to reconnect grows stronger. But they also understand that they can't just walk back into your life as if nothing happened. This is why their attempts are so subtle. They're trying to rebuild something gently, hoping you'll sense the shift in their energy. They hope their small efforts will open a door, even if just a little, so they can eventually express the truth they've been holding inside. They want to apologize, but they don't know how. They want to explain, but they don't trust themselves to speak without breaking down. They want to fix the damage, but they're afraid it's too late. This internal conflict creates a strange pattern of behavior. They move closer, then pull back. They reach out, then disappear. They hover around your presence but stop themselves from entering fully. Their indirect attempts to reconnect reveal their growing awareness of how deeply manipulation influenced their actions. They replay conversations where they dismissed your concerns, or moments where they believed lies without giving you the chance to defend yourself. They now recognize how easily they were controlled and how blindly they acted in ways that harmed you. That guilt doesn't just haunt them, it pushes them toward you in hopes of finding closure or redemption. But what they don't realize is that you already saw this moment coming. You knew that truth has a way of revealing itself. You knew that the mask of the manipulator couldn't last forever. And now, as they inch closer with these quiet, cautious gestures, you're witnessing the beginning of their awakening. These small steps back into your life are not random. They're the result of a conscience that can no longer hide from truth, a heart that regrets its blindness, and a soul that now knows losing you was the consequence of believing lies. Their subtle attempts to reconnect are their way of saying, "I see everything now. I know what I did, and I don't know how to face you, but I don't want to lose you forever." Other people start treating you differently. One of the most powerful and unexpected signs that someone realizes they were manipulated into destroying you is when the people around them begin treating you differently. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but when it does, it reveals a deeper truth that was hidden beneath the surface. People who once doubted you, sided against you, or believed the stories told about you suddenly change their behavior. They speak to you with more respect. They approach you with more caution. They observe you with a new sense of awareness. This happens because the truth has begun to circulate, and the lies that were used to turn others against you no longer hold the same power. The person who manipulated your ex or friend didn't just influence them, they attempted to influence everyone connected to you. But now the cracks in their stories are showing, and the people who once stood in judgment are starting to see who you really were all along. This shift often begins subtly. Someone who avoided you before suddenly becomes warm. Someone who ignored your presence now acknowledges your strength. Someone who believed every rumor now sees the cruelty behind those words. People start asking questions they never bothered to ask before. They start questioning why there was so much hostility directed towards someone who never caused harm. In their own quiet way, they start piecing together the truth. The problem was never you. It was the manipulator. And as this realization spreads, the energy around you shifts. You are no longer the target. You are now the one people admire, respect, and even protect. What makes this moment so powerful is that it is not based on anything you said or did recently. It is based on truth finally surfacing. People around your ex or former friend begin connecting dots. They start noticing inconsistencies in the manipulator's behavior. They see how their stories change. They witness their true intentions leaking out through jealousy, bitterness, or insecurity. And the more they observe, the more they recognize how deeply that manipulation ran. They begin recognizing that your ex wasn't acting out of their own beliefs. They were reacting to someone else's influence. And because humans share information, these realizations spread through conversations, whispers, and honest moments where truth slips into the open. This creates a ripple effect. The people who once judged you start stepping back and reassessing everything they were told. They notice how you carried yourself with dignity even when attacked. They see how you remained calm even when misunderstood. They observe how you continued elevating despite sabotage. And this contrast between your character and the manipulator's actions makes the truth undeniable. Your resilience becomes louder than their lies. Your growth becomes more visible than their deceit. And slowly, people recognize that they misjudged you. This shift in how others treat you doesn't just reveal their awakening, it signals the awakening of the person who hurt you as well. When they see others suddenly speaking differently about you, treating you with more respect, or acknowledging your strength, it shakes them. They begin to question why the narrative around you is changing. They start wondering what they missed, why they were so quick to believe the worst, and why others can now see what they were blind to. This external validation forces them to confront the truth they avoided. It becomes impossible for them to hold on to the lies when everyone around them is beginning to see your true nature. At the same time, these shifts are also a reflection of your own spiritual elevation. When lies fall away, authenticity shines brighter. Your energy begins to speak for itself. People feel your strength without you having to prove anything. They sense your integrity without you having to defend yourself. And even those who once judged you are now drawn to the light you carry. This change isn't just social, it's spiritual. It's a sign that your name is being cleared, not by force, but by truth revealing itself naturally. What they don't expect is that the manipulator's influence starts losing power the moment people begin waking up. Their lies don't land the same way. Their drama doesn't stir the same reactions. Their attempts to twist narratives fall flat. Because once truth starts emerging, deception can no longer survive. People become more aware, more observant, and more discerning. And when your ex notices this shift, it shakes them to the core. They're forced to face the possibility that they believed the wrong person, trusted the wrong voice, and hurt the wrong heart. And through all of this, you don't have to say a single word. The truth is doing the work for you. The energy around you is shifting because people are beginning to see you with clear eyes, free from manipulation and bias. And the very people who once turned away from you now realize that you were never the villain, they were simply blinded by someone else's agenda. This awakening in others becomes the fuel that pushes your ex or former friend toward their own moment of truth, and they finally begin to understand that destroying someone like you was never their own decision, it was someone else's influence all along. They realize you were the only one who truly cared. The most profound and often most painful sign that someone finally realizes they were manipulated into destroying you is when they come face to face with the truth. You were the one who truly cared. This awakening is rarely gentle. It does not come as a simple realization or a fleeting thought. It hits them like a wave, overwhelming their mind and shaking the foundation of every belief they held about you. Until this moment, they may have justified their actions, blamed you, or continued to believe the lies fed to them by a manipulator. But when this truth emerges, it is unavoidable. They begin to reflect on the countless times you stood by them, even when they doubted you. They remember how you supported them through struggles that no one else could understand, how you defended them when the world seemed against them, and how your loyalty never wavered, even in moments when they deserved to be questioned. Every gesture of care, every word of encouragement, every sacrifice you made becomes a glaring contrast to the pain they caused you. The weight of this realization is heavy because it forces them to confront the reality that they betrayed someone who only wanted the best for them, someone whose intentions were pure, and someone whose love was unwavering. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, searching for signs they ignored, moments they misinterpreted, and times they took your presence for granted. They remember the arguments where they lashed out, fueled by manipulation, and now those words echo in their conscience like a haunting reminder of the wrong they committed. They begin to notice patterns they once dismissed, how you were patient when they were impatient, calm when they were chaotic, and understanding when they were clouded by deception. The realization cuts deep because it makes them see the stark contrast between your character and the lies that influence their actions. They see that you never betrayed them, never manipulated them, and never wished them harm. Every hurtful thing they said or did was directed at someone who only wanted to uplift them, guide them, and love them unconditionally. This awakening is often accompanied by a sense of isolation and helplessness. They look around at their current situation and see that the people who influence them may no longer matter, that the manipulator's hold has weakened, and that the bridges they burned with you cannot be rebuilt easily. The deeper the realization sinks in, the heavier the burden becomes. They feel the weight of lost time, wasted energy, and missed opportunities to honor your presence in their life. The truth that they were wrong, that they allowed themselves to be used, and that they targeted the one person who truly cared, is undeniable. It forces them to question every motive, every action, and every decision they made under the manipulator's influence. What makes this sign so profound is that it transcends mere guilt. It moves into the realm of spiritual reckoning. They are forced to acknowledge that your care and love were rare, authentic, and unshakable, while the influence they followed was hollow, deceptive, and destructive. They see clearly now that the pain they caused was not born of your actions but of someone else's design. This understanding leaves them with an internal void they cannot fill. They realize that no apology or explanation can fully undo the damage or restore the trust they shattered. They recognize the irreplaceable role you played in their life, and that awareness ignites both regret and reverence for the person they mistreated. Every memory of your patience, every act of support, and every moment of silent understanding becomes a mirror reflecting their mistakes. They start to see that you were not just a friend, partner, or confidant. You were the anchor that held them steady in a storm they didn't even fully understand. The manipulator may have temporarily clouded their vision, but the truth now shines so brightly that it is impossible to ignore. They feel the loss of what they once had, and they begin to understand the depth of their own blindness. This realization is transformative because it shifts the focus from anger or denial to profound self-reflection. They start asking themselves difficult questions. How could I have been so blind? How could I have believed someone over you? Why did I allow manipulation to steer my actions? Each question deepens the awareness of their error, while simultaneously illuminating the extraordinary care and loyalty you consistently offered. They are forced to confront the reality that in a world full of illusions, you were the rare constant, a person of integrity and heart that they mistook for weakness, only to now recognize your strength. At this point, they begin to feel an almost unbearable mix of regret, admiration, and sorrow. They see the truth of who you were, what you offered, and how easily they were deceived into harming someone who only sought to help them thrive. The realization is humbling and chastising. It teaches them that genuine care is not something to manipulate, dismiss, or undermine. They see the consequences of their blind obedience to lies, and they understand that losing you is a lesson they will carry for the rest of their lives. No external validation can replace the truth they now recognize. They mistreated someone irreplaceable. Ultimately, this sign is the culmination of all the other awakenings. It is the moment when they finally understand the depth of your authenticity, the sincerity of your intentions, and the unwavering nature of your care. They see that you were never the problem, never the obstacle, and never the enemy. Every insult, every doubt, every attack they participated in under influence now comes into sharp focus as a tragic misjudgment of the person who only wanted good for them. And in that clarity, they are left to face the undeniable truth. You were the one who truly cared, and their loss is not just yours, it is theirs. This awakening marks the final step in their journey from manipulation to realization. The guilt, the regret, the reflection, and the sorrow converge into a profound recognition of your worth, your loyalty, and your unique place in their life. You become the measure by which they understand truth, authenticity, and love, and they are forced to confront the reality that they harmed someone truly rare. And that realization, painful as it is, confirms what you already knew. The universe always elevates the chosen ones, while the misguided are left to reckon with the consequences of their blindness. Chosen one. Now that the truth has revealed itself, don't waste your energy on those who were never meant to see your worth. Don't chase apologies. Don't argue with those who were blinded by manipulation. Their awakening is their lesson, not your responsibility. You have survived what they tried to use against you. You have risen above the lies, the doubt, and the attacks. Your spirit is untouchable, your purpose unstoppable, and your path is divinely protected. Let them sit with the truth. Let them face the regret, and let them realize what they lost. But you move forward. You grow stronger, shine brighter, and continue walking in your destiny. Because when you are chosen, nothing can block your rise, and every attempt to destroy you only proves how powerful you truly are. The world will always try to test you, but the truth is clear. You were never the problem. You were the one destined to prevail.